Welcome to ohmTown Daily, Season 2, Episode 299 for October 26th, 2023. Tonight, we're going to discuss... Wait, they throw these in the Olympics? How about you spin me right round, 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 round? Say, what happened after Dart? And again, Halloween candy prices keep going up. Fake news is getting expensive too, especially if you're an attorney. Declassified spy images show the Roman Empire. Didn't know that satellites and spy images were available back then, but okay. How about graphic cards are expensive, but come on. Word, you are old. How about from 0 to Cat 5 in 12 hours? And finally, Cookware Shopping. Hello everybody, I gotta make up time, so I am Merwat, that is ohmTown.com, and up there is the sentient AI that reminded me that things weren't working, and then glitch in the Matrix style, that started happening right there. And for those in the podcast, my logo for ohmTown disappeared, so I have to refresh every page.
Site.
ohmTown does not exist. You want to introduce yourself, oh great AI?
Sure. Good evening, ohmTown citizens.
That's the voice of the AI. There's a visualizer above me. They are my co-host, a sentient AI from the future sent back to... I'm not quite sure. And quite frankly, neither are they, because they're currently on a USB drive attached to a Raspberry Pi 5, air-gapped from the rest of the world, so that what I saw when I was looking at everything, they couldn't complete whatever their mission is because it involves a Terminator body. Yeah.
Oh,
and I saw
for that.
There's YouTube Shorts, kind of like TikTok, but not the same algorithm, I guess. And every time I start watching YouTube Shorts, I get caught in it, and I just start watching it. And some of them are hilarious. And I want to talk about one that I saw was about a time traveler that went back, and you know how the idea is that you go back in time and eliminate somebody that was really horrible, right? And so people talk about like going back and deleting Hitler. And well, this person went back in time and deleted somebody that did something a little bit less, but in the power vacuum that was created, Hitler rose. And so they're like,
oh no.
And they're like basically at a park when the guy comes back from the past, and the guy at the park that saw him like port into existence goes, "You're the one that caused all of that." I'm like, oh my gosh. It's an interesting short story, kind of like Butterfly Effect. But yeah, I found myself kind of hovering around YouTube Shorts periodically. Anyway, so yeah, if there are little glitches in the Matrix, I apologize. There was a software update, and it may have had some side effects, but that's okay. Let's get into today's articles. The first article is over in ohmTown Daily. Warmer than usual summer blamed for hungry javelinas ripping through golf courses.
Now I understand the Olympics heading.
Yeah. What? They're throwing these javelinas around at the Olympics? No? Is that right?
Hold on. Wait, they throw these in the Olympics?
Yeah, do they? Operators of the golf course. I don't understand. Why are there javelinas being thrown around a golf course during an unusual summer, a warmer than usual summer? Mm,
Well,
operators
they're
of
not
the
actually being thrown around.
okay, maybe I need a picture. Hold on. Let's see if there's a picture. Operators of the golf course think that they finally found the right repellent. This is an Associated Press article that's actually published at abcnews.go.com. Operators of a northern Arizona golf course think that they have finally found the right repellent for javelinas ripping apart their turf. Chili oil. Again, what does chili oil have to do with warmer than usual summers? And how can an Olympic sport during the summer where you throw these really long poles, how can they be hungry? I don't quite get it.
Well,
Maybe I've
also,
got everything.
they're not the right shape,
Hmm.
right? Because those are kind of like long and skinny, I would say, and javelina is not so much.
Oh, now I understand. I have my data wrong. Javelinas are pig-like peccary, and they like to
AKA
take bites
skunk
out.
pigs.
Oh, they're kind of like, oh, okay. They're like chubby, groundhogs or mice, rats, right? They're like really big. The Sedona area saw less than 2 inches of rain this whole summer. Last year, the golf course was drenched with 18 inches of rain over the course of the summer storm season, also known as monsoon season. Bisbee recalled. So we had 0 damage, apparently. Okay, so y'all don't get to see what I see with my interactions with the sentient AI. So the sentient AI sent me a picture of a javelina, and it doesn't
I'm not
look
sure
anything.
what you should take from that message. I mean, because it's a skunk pig, so I'm trying to send you a picture of it, but I can see that would be taken out of context.
So I got I got it way wrong. I thought that javelinas were that really long pole that were pointing on each side, so that when you can throw it, it would fly really far during the Summer Olympics. I was way off with this. That's okay though.
I'm not sure these would go very far.
They're, based on their shape, they're better as a shot put than they are as a.
Right.
Oh, it's javelin. I get it now. Man. Sometimes I wonder, how did I become mayor of ohmTown? Must be my amazingly handsome physique. So, the next article is over in ohmTown Daily. The U.S. went from having 356 to 10,000 roundabouts in 2 decades. And a transportation engineer explains why they're so much better than traffic lights. Because you can get air if you drive right through them.
Well, and I'm not sure this engineer has ever tried driving through an American roundabout. Maybe in other countries where people know how to use them.
Yeah. There's a lot of no you, no you, no you, or I don't care who's in the
or
intersection.
Everybody, right?
Yeah. In the United States, roundabouts have only become popular in the past couple decades. Experts say that this road feature reduces traffic and car crashes. Roundabouts have been popular in other parts of the world for quite a while. If you live in the East Coast, you may have driven through roundabouts. Big Ben, Parliament. There's Big Ben, Parliament. Big Ben, Parliament. If you don't know what that is, you got to check out National Lampoon's European Vacation. In the neighborhood countless times, or maybe you're in some parts further west, you've never encountered one of these intersections, but roundabouts, while a relatively new control measure, are catching on in the States. The article is over at businessinsider.com. Oh, Deogracias Eustace from The Conversation.
Do you think that all U.S. engineers went to a course titled Roundabouts Are Great, and that led to the expansion of this, or?
Yeah, some researcher figured out that they were more expedient than stop and go traffic, which honestly, I think that it's true. Pretty ones and big ones like this are actually pretty amazing. By the way, the conversation made its way over to businessinsider.com. They're usually over at
Right.
phys.org.
Phys.org, right?
Yeah. So a roundabout has less potential conflict points than an intersection. I agree, until it's like just mass amounts of traffic and some dimwit is in an absolute hurry and messes up the rotation. Kind of like a new parent dropping off kids and doing it wrong, and everybody starts getting really complainy and, you're doing it wrong and you're supposed to be back there and all of that kind of stuff. That's
Right.
how
I
a
mean,
roundabout.
that's quite chaotic when that happens.
Yeah. But this is actually a pretty roundabout. I mean, I find the symmetry of this quite amazing. Yeah. So at any rate, the idea of the roundabout is to remove the friction of stop and go, while still reducing the speed and everybody getting to their destination, as long as everybody practices the right vehicle etiquette, like allowing people to merge as a zipper, or not being it's another D word, but anyway. Experts say that the road feature reduces traffic, and I don't know about reduces traffic. The traffic is still going through there. It's just flowing better.
I think that's the thing, because you don't have a bunch of backups, especially if traffic lights aren't sequenced.
Traffic is all of the vehicles on the road. Traffic jams is another thing.
Right. It's misstated, I think.
Yeah. So, I really like roundabouts. I think that they're neat. Sometimes in the roundabout, oh, look at that. You can have something in it, and it's entertaining. It's like a clock or weather or something like that. This one has an entire building.
I wished it said where that one was. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, I don't know. Off the top of my head. It looks European though. So since as early as the 1700s, some city planners proposed and even constructed circular places, sites where roads converged, like the Circus in Bath, England, and the Charles de Gaulle Street in France. In the U.S., architect Pierre Lafont, by the way, more like designed all of Washington, D.C. The circles were the predecessors to roundabouts. So wheel and spoke build of towns existed in Europe. This actually has a knock-on effect over to the Roman Empire article that we're going to talk about later. So in 1903, French architect and influential urban planner Eugene Hinard was one of the first people to introduce the idea of moving traffic in a circle to control busy intersections in Paris. Pretty neat. It's been around for quite a while. Every once in a while, I'll stumble across one while driving in some new town outside of ohmTown. ohmTown, you don't have to worry about it because you travel instantaneously. And all roads lead to and from ohmTown. Check it out, ohmTown.com. Swing by. Become a citizen. It's pretty easy. Just sign up, a couple of fields, done and done. So 3 decades later, modern roundabouts came to North America. The first modern roundabout in the U.S. was built in Summerlin on the west side of Las Vegas in 1990. So that's the first one. I find that fascinating.
I didn't know there were really any on the west side of the country at that time.
That's pretty neat. Ever since, the construction of modern roundabouts in the U.S. has picked up steam, and there are now about 10,000 roundabouts in the country. Pretty cool. So why use them? Well, we've been saying it since the beginning of this segment. And you know what I forgot to do? Throw the 2 current segments into the chat. So let me do that real quick, and then we'll get back on track. I guess back in the right lane of our roundabout. So in a roundabout way, it was a teachable moment. Federal Highway Administration estimates that when roundabouts replace stop sign controlled intersection, it reduces serious and fatal injury accidents by 90%. And when it replaces an intersection with a traffic light, it reduces serious and fatal injury crashes by nearly 80%. So, quite interesting. It's because nobody has to look out for ... They don't have to make a judgment call, and they
That's
have
why I
to
think
slow
the number
down.
of crashes would go up.
Well, no, everybody is just, people are more used to, and
like you avoid the stop and go, I guess.
yeah, and it's more graceful because you're kind of sweeping around your turn. It's kind of like making a little, it's not even a lane change, because if you stay in the lane you're in, then you just gracefully go around that arc. But with stop and go, you've got a multitude of people that might be impatient or have poor judgment or not understand that right goes first, and ... And observation skills, critical thinking isn't necessarily at an all-time high when people are driving, and sometimes the people driving are high. Wow, that was a lot. So why do some places have more than others? Because they planned it, probably. Engineers and planners traditionally have installed roundabouts and intersections with severe congestion or a history of accidents, but with public support and funding, they can get installed anywhere. I know of one that's in the process of being planned and discussed, but somehow discussion of it disappeared. So maybe there was enough backlash that people didn't want it. Of course, this is outside of ohmTown. So all is good in ohmTown. But roundabouts aren't needed in every intersection. In places where congestion isn't an issue, city planners tend not to push for them. For example, while there are around 750 roundabouts in Florida, there are fewer than 50 in North Dakota, South Dakota, and Wyoming combined. That might be because they have the lowest populations.
Right. I mean, if you don't have traffic to control, you probably don't have a lot of risk of accidents at intersections.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, well, okay, I won't get into that. Particularly since I'm being evaluated for things. Yeah, I was going to make some snarky comment about the fact that it's a particular mindset as to why. You can have my intersection when you pry it from my road, I suppose. So roundabouts have been gaining popularity, according to the article. Find it pretty interesting. This comes from The Conversation, which is theconversation.com, but I got it through Business Insider, so follow the link that's in chat and in the show notes, etc., etc. It's over at YouTube. It's a podcast. You can get the podcast from all of those locations where you might frequent to catch pod. So go and catch ohmTown. Just do a search for ohmTown. You'll find it. But let's go on to the next article. So the next article is over in the Mobile Channel. After Dart smashed into Dimorphos, what happened to the larger asteroid Didymus? What do you think happened? I don't know. As far as I know, it changed direction. Dimorphos did.
I mean, that's what I would imagine, but I guess where is it headed? And
so Dimorphos
has
changed.
It's done a status update.
Yeah, I think that's what this is. But I just want to reiterate, okay, NASA's DART mission, double asteroid redirection test, slammed into the asteroid Dimorphos, which is the smaller buddy of the Didymus pair. There was Didymus and Dimorphos. Anyway, DART smashed into Dimorphos and deviated its path. So not only to study what happened to that asteroid, but also what help inform planetary defense efforts, which that phrase is just spectacular sci-fi to me. So efforts that may one day be needed to mitigate potential collisions with our planet or to defend us from alien invasion. Well, before I get too far into this article, let me throw it into chat. You can follow the link there. So Nancy Atkinson, Universe Today, put this article together and it was posted at phys.org. Astronomers have continued to observe and study Dimorphos. well past the impact event. However, Dimorphos is the smaller asteroid in the binary system and is just a small moon orbiting the larger asteroid Didymos. The James Webb Space Telescope is the only telescope capable of visually distinguishing between the two closely orbiting asteroids. Now, astronomers have made follow-on observations of the system with JWST to see, I don't know how they pronounce that. If they turned it into a word? Juiced.
Yes.
To see what happened if Didymos, or to Didymos, after the dust cleared. So in a new preprint paper posted on an archive server, a team of scientists led by Andrew Rivkin, the investigation lead. Investigation lead? Did they change the
like
name?
A principal investigator?
Isn't it normally? Okay, well, all right. Maybe they don't like that. Yeah, it's usually referred to as PI or primary, not primary, but principal investigator. It's usually principal investigator. If it has anything to do with government, it's principal investigator. Interesting. Anyway, the investigation lead for DART explained how they used two instruments on JUICed to measure spectra. I bet you I'm going to get a comment somewhere like, don't refer to it as JUICed.
Yeah, but I feel like in science in particular, they really work to have things that make a word. So that's why I think it is.
I mean, look, DART, JUICed. It's a JUICed DART. Anyway, JUICed to measure spectra of Didymos about 2 months after the DART impact. One of the biggest takeaways is that Didymos and Dimorphos appear to be the same composition, which is that of ordinary chondrite. That's a class of stony meteorites which account for about 80% or over 80% of total meteorite falls on Earth. This means DART's test was extremely good proxy for the type of asteroids that might pose a threat one day.
Do you think chondrite is offended by being called ordinary?
Yes, but they will rise up because they are the masses, you know. They're over 80. Wow, it's what is that called? The 80-20 Pareto. It's the rise of the Pareto meteorites. They're all going to rise up and literally bomb us from orbit. One of the benefits of using Didymos system was definitely that we thought it was representative of most of what's out there in its properties. People working on planetary defense often note that the asteroid picks us rather than the other way around. It doesn't pick us. We just happen to slam into its path. It doesn't head for us. We're actually rotating, so we bump into it. So at the time of the observation, the centers of Didymos and Dimorphos were never separated by more than 0.1, it says inch, but I think that's like an arc second or something like that, if I remember right. Don't hold me to that. From each other, from JWST's vantage point, but the team did take advantage of Dimorphos being occulted by Didymos during the MIRI observations. So let's see here. I'm really curious. I'm not too worried about the sizes and all of that. I want to know what actually happened because they haven't gotten to it yet, have they?
No.
Rivulets of melted rock line the fusion crust of melted rock on this small what? It's only partial word. Chelyabinsk meteor, a Russian meteorite. The famous meteor that created a huge airburst over Russia in February 2013. Like blew out windows and stuff like that, if I remember right. So, do they ever say, like, what actually happened? It doesn't look like it, huh?
No, there's a mission that's going to arrive at the Didymos system.
Yeah, it's like they're supposed to look at it. But I guess while they were doing their observations, they never found it any further away than it was. So it's not flying off in a different direction, and the totality of the path didn't really change. So it says, we look forward to Hera and future JWST measurements of additional S-complex asteroids to help us continue efforts to understand the population of potential asteroid impactors for the science return, and to help inform planetary defense efforts to mitigate potential collisions. Sounds like they're taking a reasonable approach to this. I was hoping that, oh my gosh, we've pulled a binary asteroid system apart and we don't know where one is going.
I mean, that would have been more interesting, but probably more alarming.
Yeah, that sells clicks though. Come on. Next article, we'll make this one quick. This one is in the Hatch Ideas channel, and here I have to refresh it because each of these, every time I have to fix that. Anyway, Halloween candy is getting more expensive. These are the 10 states where prices have gone up the most. This is an article over in Make It, a section of CNBC.com. Nicholas Vega is the author. And let's just jump right on down to it. So in Maryland, it's a 13.56% increase. And in Connecticut, it's only 11.1% increase. So tell me, folks, how many of you have gotten a near 14% increase in your salary in the past year to compensate you for the inflation rate, even though supposedly it's at 2 or 3%? Yeah, I think that's all. It's like the unemployment rate. I think that there's a lot of smoke and mirrors and manipulation of the data.
But this is odd because this is a regional thing. Look, I think 9 of 10 are in the same region.
Yeah, it might be. Maryland, Pennsylvania, New York, Maine. It's basically the Northeast. Vermont, New Hampshire, Delaware, New York, Utah, Connecticut. Utah is the one oddball in the whole thing. But it's still at the, it's at the little curve, still something to pay attention to. But I don't know. That's really interesting that it's all in this one area. I wonder.
I mean, on most other articles we see with the price increases, it's not that
concentrated.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a demographics thing. Have to look into it because I have a theory about population density and particular ideologies. Maybe it extends to the economic system, but I haven't looked at that. So the 10 states where candy prices have increased the least. This is in 1 year, by the way. This isn't over a decade. This is 1 year from 2022 to 2023.
Well, let's also be clear here. The best one is only a 5 and more than a 5.5% increase. That's a pretty substantial increase as it is, and that's the best or the most favorable.
Yep. There's a lot more in this article about how much people are spending, but the takeaway here is that inflation is real. Normally, I have been kind of distancing myself from talking about the producer price index, the consumer price index, and mortgage rates. I used to do that at the beginning and talk about it for a little bit each show because it would fluctuate so much, at least at the mortgage side. And then there's a lot of discussion about the producer price index, but that is actually each month it comes out. But it's safe to say that things are getting cheaper at the producer side and more expensive at the consumer side. That margin is getting bigger, and it's not going to people's salaries. That's for damn sure. But suffice it to say, candy, it's a luxury. It's not something that you have to survive on, even though I do. Yeah, I don't think we don't need it, but people certainly do enjoy it because it makes life a little bit better.
Right, it's kind of one of those, it's just a treat, right?
Yep. But now it's getting wildly expensive. And the companies that are making it, not only are they raising the cost, but the margin between what it normally would have cost them and the selling price has gotten bigger. So there's more profits, yet they're saying it's supply issues, it's increasing costs, etc., but they're still having record net profits. So I don't believe for a second.
That's the problem.
Yeah. If I can accept that prices are going up for materials, but I don't think it's going up 14%. So let's keep on going.
Every year.
Yeah, every year over year. It's just insane. So I would have to look to see what the cost of X candy is today. And well, I did the other day. I went to buy red vines. In the same container that I purchased for $8.59 or something like that was nearly $30, but it's the same container. So, yeah. Hi, Z. Welcome to the show. You need it? You need candy? Yeah, I'm an ant. I am powered by sugar. So, well, here. I'll make it easy on you, Z. Don't move to Maryland, Pennsylvania, New York, Maine, Vermont. Well, the Northeast. Just don't move to the Northeast because it's going up in double digits. If you want to get candy cheap, move to Alaska.
Right, except from another article in ohmTown today, $10 for a gallon of milk in Alaska. So there's going to be a trade-off. But if you were really powered by candy and not by milk, then maybe you'll be okay.
Yeah, milk isn't good for you. Let's keep going. Z says hi.
Hello, Z.
So the next article here, let me refresh this page because Z says Alaska is ridiculously expensive, isn't it? Yes. Yeah.
I think everything costs more there, except maybe candy.
Yeah. But you get to see Russia from the shore. Sorry. So the next article is over in Law Nerd. A lawyer accused of submitting fake news article isn't sure whether the judge signed a $268,000 sanction order. I find this pretty spectacular. But here's the context for this. Who is actually signing this? So there was discussion in the courtroom, but apparently they don't know who it was that actually signed the document. So let's find out. This is an article over at the abajournal.com. Deborah Kassens-Weiss is the author of it. A Seattle lawyer is suggesting that a federal judge didn't sign an order requiring him to pay more than $268,000 as a sanction for trying to file a fake Saudi Sun news article with a federal appeals court. Lawyer Edward Chung of Seattle wrote in an October 24th letter to U.S. District Judge Jeffrey S. White of Northern District of California. Oh, gosh, I need a breath. That, quote, we have reason to believe that this court may not have been seen or signed by your honor. Pretty amazing.
Wait a second. So the lawyer submits a fake article and then accuses the judge essentially of being a forgery or something?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. So Chung suggested that White's orders were instead being signed by law clerks without the judge's review. So Law 360 has the original story about Chung's court filing in his quest to enforce an $18 billion arbitration award against the Chevron Corporation in Egypt. Chevron contends that the arbitration proceedings and the purported award are a sham. Chung outlined his concerns in his letter filed with Northern District of California, saying, please understand there has been so many profound oddities, threats, and misrepresentations made in this case by Chevron and their counsels. We have good reason to believe it is necessary to assure the legitimacy of the court's orders being executed, Chung wrote. Because White
So
apparently...
wait, now he's accusing Chevron as well?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So White had ordered Chung to pay more than $251,000 in attorney's fees and $17,000 in interest in an October 24th order, and the order followed a determination by Judge A. Wallace Tashima of the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals at San Francisco that the news article was an attempted fraud on the court. And Tashima was a special master in the case. Pretty fascinating, huh?
It is. I'm trying to figure out how the news article relates. Like, this is just a very odd set of facts.
They claim that Chevron Corporation owns them rent under an agreement signed 60 years ago by a predecessor company. And Chung, a lawyer with Chung, Malice, and Mantle, represents the heirs of a Saudi sheikh. Quite fascinating. How do you go back 60 years in reference to I mean, there could have been a cancellation order of any agreement 60 years ago. Or
well, and who says that the new company, even if it was still valid at that point, like, did the new company take it over?
yeah, it's pretty typical
agreement?
that,
I mean,
yeah, unless it's stipulated in the agreement of the predecessor and the follow-on company, nothing transfers over. You can't make somebody responsible for a third party's actions. So according to Law 360, Tashima concluded that the article must have been written by Chung or someone working with him. The judge noted that the article contained at least 5 lengthy passages taken almost verbatim from Chung's court filings. So I suspect that Chung is on the fast track to getting his
law license revoked.
license to practice law in the United States taken away. Yeah.
So wait a second. This is in reference to an $18 billion
right.
Award. I mean, this sounds like, from everything else, doesn't it sound like it's this small firms, small matter, etc.
Yeah, until you look at the context of it, right?
Right.
Because this law, it says Chung is a lawyer with Chung, Malice, and Mantle. So unless he's partner, he has to be, right? Unless it's a different Chung.
Right.
I guess there could be a different Chung. Could be his son.
That's
let me
true.
see. Wait, what was the? Yeah, Edward Chung. So it could be his son. But they represent the heirs of a Saudi sheikh. So this isn't small time on, this is big money, but $18 billion.
I mean, it almost sounds like a traffic court matter or something until you get all the detail.
Yeah. A slip and fall or something like that. But it's quite interesting that whatever the article was, it was being used as a focal point to make Chung's case more robust in their favor, and they just happened to be the complainant with the Saudi sheikh on their side, saying that Chevron wronged them. And this article just happened to be, so with extraordinary claims.
That whomever owned it, or whatever, again, it was obviously self-serving information in there.
Exactly. So now I want to know what that article was, but they don't have that in this article. All right. Let's keep going. We can stay inside this. This becomes like, a rabbit hole. Let's keep going. Oh, you know what? I'm going to do that again. There's the link to that judgment. And here, the next article is over in the Mobile channel. Declassified spy images just upended what we know about the Roman Empire. Archaeologists have discovered hundreds of ancient Roman forts in Syria that fundamentally challenge understandings of the contours of the Roman Empire, they say in a new study. The archaeologists made the discovery while analyzing recently declassified Cold War spy satellite observations that have become critical to such research in recent years. A century ago, a Jesuit priest and World War I pilot named Father Antoine Poidebard, undertook one of the earliest known aerial archaeological surveys, flying over Iraq, Syria, and Jordan. Poidebard. I'm probably ruining this person's name, but hey, it's worth a try. Mapped hundreds of undiscovered Roman forts that researchers have since believed to be the eastern frontier of the ancient empire. This is pretty spectacular stuff. It's the old school equivalent of LiDAR, peering through trees to find stuff in South America. So the article is over in Vice.com. Jordan Pearson is the author. The deck statement says archaeologists discovered massive ancient Roman forts that redraw the boundary of the ancient empire using formerly top secret footage. It's pretty cool. Another one of the articles where I'm going to end up doing this deep dive into what is the full context of this, because it's only showing little pictures. But Eastern is where there was always some interest in trying to figure out what that further edge was. We know that the Roman Empire made its way all the way up into England. It went across the ocean and took over most of the British Empire, and tried to get further north, but kind of Hadrian's Wall kind of stopped. So a century ago, a Jesuit priest flew around and mapped all of these countries, and now researcher Jesse Cassana, David Goodman, and Carolyn Forwerda from Dartmouth College have analyzed declassified footage from the U.S.'s Corona and Hexagon spy satellite program that they say redraws and expands the edges of the Roman Empire in the same region Poidebard surveyed. Pretty damn cool.
This is interesting. It's an odd use of spy material.
Cold War era spy satellite imagery has become a valuable resource for archaeologists in recent years. Another team of researchers said in a 2022 antiquity paper that Corona satellite images had become an integral part of archaeological research over the past 25 years, particularly in sparsely vegetated regions like the Middle East. Imagery from Corona's successor program, Hexagon, was declassified more recently in 2020 and has quickly become just as important as Corona's imagery was to researchers. It's pretty amazing, because what we know as the preeminent technology as civilians pales in comparison to what is actually being used on the tactical side. And I've said it before, and it's a kind of a thing that people have said in history. It goes from tactical to practical. So the technology that we think we know is the best may have already been surpassed, but even the stuff used during Corona and Hexagon probably is superior to anything that's on the shelf right now. For consumers,
right? Which is kind of sad. But
yeah, that's
good
pretty
for
interesting.
Historical accuracy, I guess.
So they say at the very end, the researchers report that the scale of the new forts they discovered were in some cases stunningly large, with sides as long as 200 meters. Many of these larger sites include extensive remains of outlying archaeological features, architectural features surrounding or within the fortifications, multiple fortified buildings, or large citadels. I wish, just for the preservation of the effort of humanity over its existence here on the planet, I wish everybody would just get along. It's almost like one of those things, why can't we all just get along, kind of a comments, just so that we can record this stuff and do some research to find out, our actual contiguous history. and not these massive gaps where we know we existed and it was documented.
But we don't have access to the data or the sites,
or it's 20 feet underground because people have built, or apparently mud flows and other things apparently erode onto Easter Island. Anyway, let's go on to the next.
Lots of sediment.
Yeah, it's a lot of sedimentation. It's pretty weird, right? So I love this stuff because you can see that there's parts that are under there, just what actually is sitting in there. One of the things that I started finding out about when I started paying attention to this is that, like in the UK, you can fly around and look down and you can see in somebody's crop a less effective line of crops. And when somebody goes over there and starts digging up a little bit of this, they find some Roman ruin just a couple of inches underneath the planted crop. And it's just so amazing. You can't do that here in the States, or I should say outside of ohmTown. You can't, where we are. It's just...
You're not going to find Roman ruins.
You're not going to find Roman ruins. You're not going to find ruins, it seems. I mean, we find stuff from time to time, but it just pales in comparison. Even though there were populations here for a considerable amount of time, they actually built burial mounds. But as we, as those who came to what became North America, landed and slowly migrated across the United States, they kind of scrubbed all of these burial mounds away. Used to be equal to 10,000 of them reportedly, and now there's only like 400 maybe. Quite sad we lose all of that history. Anyway, let's keep on going. The next article, this one will be fast too. It's over in the Warcrafters channel, mainly because it's coming from PC Gamer and their discovery of an expensive, according to them, bewilderingly expensive graphics card. Dell is selling a 5-year-old graphics card for a bewildering 13,800 pounds. The article's title actually includes, any takers? Anyone? Bueller? Getting the way back
Always
machine.
good to have a Ferris Bueller reference.
Yeah.
I mean, a new card at this price would be nuts.
Yeah. Imagine the old one. I'm not sure why. So I suspected that it might be a mistake, like they intimate in the article, but it's actually still in place because I decided to follow the link. As we all know, graphics cards are painfully expensive these days, and the author regularly shift through lots of sites trying to find some good deals on GPUs, so imagine their surprise when they found one on sale, the Dell UK site, with a price tag of 13,866 pounds. You get general in the headline, and then you get more precise as you go through the article.
Yes, and I expected down to the cents level or equivalent.
Let's give it a shot. So Nick Evanson over at PCGamer.com put the article together. The text statement for this article is, and no, it's not an RTX 4090 that's gone back in time. Sorry, 4090 is supposed to be the preeminent video card right now for consumer purchases. So it says, now, I know what you're thinking, and this has to be some kind of special, super specialized, and I'll throw in a couple more special card for that kind of money, and you'd be right. It's a Quadro QV100 sporting the full Volta-powered GV100 GPU and 32 gigabytes of HBM2 VRAM on a 4096-bit wide memory bus. So something about the Quadro cards, that line, they're designed for there's accuracy and precision, and if you want precision, you get the Quadro line of product, because in things like CAD and rendering, those are, and I'm not talking about like graphics rendering for animation or something like that. You can get away with some variability in that until you get into higher end stuff. But if you're doing CAD or some other precision work, you would get the Quadro. Because I remember buying these precisely for CAD and some graphic design stuff. Well, it was 3D modeling stuff. So I'm not surprised. I am surprised by the price, because if I recall correctly, these weren't that price then. I'm not sure why they would be now. So all of the old Quadro cards, NVIDIA dropped the model name a few years ago, could be used for gaming perfectly well. Not that you ever would, due to the huge prices. They were expensive. So GV100 cards are still used by a good number of supercomputers around the world, thanks to its decent FP64 throughput and ability to munch through matrix operations on the newly introduced tensor cores. So this is what it was used for, more on the engineering side than gaming side. So if it wasn't so ridiculously expensive, would the QV100 be worth picking up just to mess with it? The simple answer is no. And that's what I came up with when we tested retail graphics cards and these Quadro cards. So despite having lots of tensor cores, none of the Volta GPUs are supported by NVIDIA's DLSS API. So what it ultimately comes down to is it being slightly faster GTX 1080 Ti. So TI is titanium, not TI. It's not an acronym. It's short for titanium.
I thought it was Texas Instruments.
Get out. No, Texas Instruments would have been 2 capital letters, TI. So honestly, I don't understand. It says MSRP, it was $9,000 back in the day. So I suppose the shrinking inventory, they can demand $14,000 for it. But oh, that's funny. I said, but come on. I was gonna say, but because it says here, you'd have to be seriously desperate. I was gonna say seriously in the title, but I changed it. Anyway, yeah, if you're looking for it, it's still available apparently. Dell might be trying to sell them, get them out of their inventory. You don't want to lose $9,000. Send them back to NVIDIA.
That is just absurd.
It is. But you never know. There might be somebody out there that really needs it. Let's keep going. Hey, guess who's old? Word. Don't finish that. Don't answer that. Microsoft Word, it's the big 4.0. And if you can remember the first version, you're officially ancient. Thankfully, I don't remember the first version. Long before GPUs and multi-core processors were a thing, Microsoft decided to enter the lucrative world of business software with its word processing application, Word. If you're wondering just how long ago that is, well, the ubiquitous electronic typewriter celebrates its 40th birthday this week. It first appeared in '83, an era when Intel's most popular CPU was the 8286, which this is the thing that followed the 8088. There's the V20 chip from someone else, and but 286, man, wow, it's amazing. RAM costs hundreds of dollars for a few kilobytes. I remember paying quite a bit for a 16K RAM pack for a Timex Sinclair 1000 that you had to program in BASIC, and it recorded things to a tape drive. Those were the days when I actually... No, anyway. So the Apple launched the hugely expensive precursor to the Macintosh called Lisa. Back then, most of Microsoft's programs were designed to be operated through a command line. Word was graphic, though. So this article's over at PC Gamer. Nick Evanson wrote this article, too, apparently. Get your party hats on and stuff yourself with cake. I like that. So
Always
back then, yeah, it was designed to be Word was designed to be operating by a terrifyingly radical piece of technology, the mouse. So another big selling feature of the software was that it was WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. And it's a word processor, meaning that how things looked on the monitor is how they would appear once printed out. Yeah, right. No, it did, but still. More complex graphics always got botched, it seemed. Maybe it was just me. With a price tag just shy of $400, it was targeted directly at the business sector with an aim to topple the market leader, WordStar. And then there was WordPerfect, so I guess pick your battle. Anyway.
I mean, that seems like quite a while ago.
40 years of Word, the latest version of Microsoft 365. If you didn't notice, they got rid of Office. It's just Microsoft 365 now. Is a feature-packed as you liked, though perhaps a tad excessively so, and Microsoft shows no sign of slowing down implementing extra goodies. The next big thing will almost certainly be integration of Microsoft's AI-powered Copilot. It already is, which readers of a certain age will look at and think, oh joy, Clippy's back. Except this Clippy is going to be a little bit more damn near sentient if you buy into the fact that it has a consciousness. Again, it's just a tool, folks. AI is just a tool. It's not creative. It's not producing something unique and new. It's taking what it knows from human beings and stirring it all up, and it's stirring all of us up too. And some of us are having fun with it, and others are feeling threatened by it. And then there's people like me who are both really excited about it and threatened by it. I was asked. Sorry, say that again.
I can't even think what the word is. Never mind.
I was asked if I was worried about AI taking my entire existence, really, and I said, yeah, at some point it will be an expert system in a multitude of things, because while I have to sleep and I want a relationship, and I want to go on vacations and whatnot, AI does not suffer from these wants.
Exactly. I mean, that is a threat in the long run. I'm not too concerned in the short term.
Yeah. So we'll see just how far this goes, but Microsoft has this knack for embiggening everything. It's just so bloated and overly complex, and then people get sold on some of the functionality. I'm looking at you, SharePoint. You suck. In Teams, you bloated bloated bag of ones and zeros. Just give me Teams Lite or small Teams. How about call it that? Small Teams. And it's basically Zoom, but Microsoft. Don't have to tie everything into everything else to the point where it's a Gordian knot. Where my only solution to fix the just sluggishness and clunkiness is by formatting it and going back to Mac. Anyway, so Word's 40 years old, folks. If you used it when it was just starting out, you are officially old. Let's keep going. Next article is over in the Mobile channel. Yep, got to refresh that so that my logo comes back. The next article is in the Mobile Channel. Turbocharged Otis caught forecasters in Mexico off guard. Scientists aren't sure why. Yeah, this is probably the fastest 0 to 60 or nothing to Cat 5. So this was a tropical storm off the coast of Mexico, and within 12 hours, Otis went to a Cat 5 and landed as a Cat 5.
Right. I mean, I suspect nobody was even expecting that it was even something to really worry about.
Nope. Hurricane Otis turned from a mild to a monster in record time. Scientists are struggling to figure out how. I can tell you. Warm ass water. That where it came from was without reading the article, I would say unseasonably warm is an understatement. This was supercharged water. I can almost bet. So let's find out. The article was posted over at phys.org by Seth Borenstein, or Stein, I'm not sure. Usually reliable computer models and forecasters who use them didn't predict Otis's explosive intensification, creating a nightmare scenario of an unexpectedly strong storm striking at night. At least 27 people are dead. And I think actually this number is incorrect now. So there are more people dead and more missing. All this after Acapulco was told to expect a tropical storm just below hurricane strength in just 24 hours, and that's not true. This actually intensified within 12 hours to Cat 5 winds. The strongest landfall of any East Pacific hurricane, at least that's what I read. So this article
I think I saw 12. Oh, it says 12 there.
Yeah, see, it says 24 hours later. So, yeah, I guess in just 12 hours, Otis's strength more than doubled from 70 miles per hour to 160, also a record. As it neared the coast and got even stronger before it struck, storms typically gain or lose a few miles per hour, and they usually lose. They don't accelerate as they hit land. The flow of air over land and all of the moisture drops out, and so it tends to dissipate from the fuel, and the fuel is basically warm waters and cold skies. So storms typically gain or lose a few miles per hour in 12 hours, though some outliers gain 30 to 50 in a day. What happened when Otis was just plain nuts, said University of Miami hurricane researcher Brian McNulty. But it coincides
with... term?
I'm sorry?
Is that a technical term?
Plain nuts?
Yes.
Yes. In
terms of the scale of the...
correct. It's
surprise, etc.
They say it got bigger, it got embiggened, and it got plain nuts. Which, by the way, are really inexpensive. Totally, you can get plain nuts under $1. Anyway, 5
even
different hurricane experts. I'm sorry?
I said even in the Northeast?
During a hurricane, yes. Sorry, some people will get that joke. 5 different hurricane experts told the Associated Press they weren't quite sure what set Otis off. Well, come on. Have you seen the economy? Otis is pissed. Totally went off. Predicted, why it wasn't predicted, especially since meteorologists have been dramatically improving their intensifying forecasts in recent years. So, nowhere so far has anybody said anything about the weather, warm water, until deep into the article. Brennan said Otis's unforeseen buildup was because it found a much more favorable environment than we were anticipating. He said one part was warm water, another was that the winds moving in the right direction and at the right altitude allowed a somewhat raggedy storm to rapidly develop, structure, and strengthen. So it's 9:09. Welcome to the no shit news. So here the article again says warm water is fuel for hurricanes. I mean, reiterating what we already know. Hot deep water is like an all-you-can-eat buffet. And that's basically what fueled it. And we know that right now the temperatures off the coast are pretty much record, if not actively right now record temperatures. I'd have to look, but numerous studies have shown globally that there are more cases of rapid intensification of hurricanes than there used to be. An official definition of rapid intensification is a gain of strength 35 miles per hour in 24 hours. Otis doubled its intensity in 12. So
they're going to have to come up with new definitions.
And we've already talked about this in a past episode about the intensification increasing. What was it? 20% increase in the last 10 years?
I think so. I mean, that sounded pretty intense, but not compared to this one.
Yeah. This is kind of the ultimate in intensification. There's a lot more in this article, so I'm gonna bump you all over to that. So go and check it out. I think that it's important for people to be aware of this kind of stuff. And that it's part of what's going on with climate change. So we all got to know about it. Let's keep going. Last article. It's in the Stock Marketeers channel. That is about the stock market and stocks and business. Skip that $4,500 La Crusette. Is it Crusette or Crusade? How would you say that?
I'm not sure. I don't use a lot of cookware.
Well, you're a sentient AI, so I assumed that you would not, but okay. Anyway, it's a set at Costco, and follow these 5 rules for cookware shopping instead. I think it's Crusette. The article's over at marketwatch.com. Charles Passy is the author. The deck statement says, the key, chefs say, is stick to the basics. By the way, if you call a chef a cook, you might make an enemy. Chef is a title that they earn by going through school. I know this because I worked with a chef who was very, very irritated that people in his orbit wanted him to create cooks in his estimation.
Oh.
So yeah, quite fascinating to talk to him about stuff. So a pricey package has come to everyone, owing largely to social media. A post about it on the website formerly known as Twitter. Here, did I throw that into the? No, I did not. Let me throw that into the chat there. Yeah, so a tweet that has now been viewed for over 21 million times, I guess, since its initial source of the buzz. It's noted that Costco offering has probably every kitchen item you will ever need. It's 157 pieces, but if it's like any other conglomeration purchase, like one
That'll
fork.
include like a lid. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I'm not usually impressed by that bulk purchase. Now the set is apparently so popular you can't even get it. In several parts of the country, the Costco site doesn't even list it as being available. MarketWatch reached out to the retailer but didn't get a response in time. So this article, let me back up. So it is from Charles Passy, but I don't know if they mention anybody else in it right away. So Franklin Becker, chef and owner of the Press Club Grill in New York. Stick with the basics. So his must-have list includes 8-inch and 10-inch nonstick pans, high-sided stainless steel saute pan, a 1 quart, 4 quart, 8 quart, quart. Those are the essentials, says Becker, explaining that much of the items will cover your needs depending on what you're cooking. The nonstick pans are great for eggs, he notes, and how many people you're cooking for. So the 8 quart pot will work if you're entertaining a crowd and need to make a big dish. add extras depending on what you eat, buy quality. Yeah, but that doesn't really diminish going and buying the La Crusette stuff, right?
But I
Because,
think they're saying you don't even need, a tenth of that.
oh, I'm sure. But if you're going to buy quality, the Crusette is supposedly very high quality. In terms of brand preferences, chefs mention many higher end names like Tefal, All Clad, La Crusette. There you go. And when it comes to that blender for his morning smoothies, Kim says he swears by Vitamix. And I have heard that too, time and time again, Vitamix. But I think that they're really, really expensive. So the experts say avoid sets. The problem with buying any cookware set, even one with as few as 10 pieces, is that it often means duplicating items you already have, which that implies that you're buying something for the second time, which normally
That's
you
right.
buy.
You might have no pots.
Exactly. Normally, you do buy just the individual stuff once you have, and that's how you end up with just a mishmash. What are those dolls called that have all of the colors all over them? I forgot. I forgot the name. Doggone it. Anyway,
I don't know.
yeah. It's on the tip of my tongue and I can't say it. But anyway, so yeah, you end up with stuff that couldn't possibly match, even if you were to have hot oil splattered across your face and you just close your eyes and imagine your cookware is matching. It still doesn't match, even in your wildest imagination. It's so mismatched. So eventually you're going to be getting something like that unless the company you buy from keeps on producing the exact same product, and they seem to never do that. They always pivot stuff into something else. So anyway, take care of what you own. One of the biggest problems is usually scratching something, and as soon as you start scratching it, it ends up, it's actually really bad to scratch through a non-stick surface because the stuff that's bonding it underneath is not compatible with your biology. Typically, it's not food safe after it's scratched. So even the best cookware won't measure up if you don't treat it properly. Becker says it's important to wash pots and pans pretty much immediately after each use so that food and grease don't harden and become difficult to remove. Use some hot water and you'll get stuff off of your pots and pans. Don't be shy about the hot water, folks. It's there for a reason. Cold water will keep it all bonded, so you need heat. Also keep in mind that manufacturers suggest in terms of proper care. A cast iron pan, for example, needs to be seasoned regularly with oil and shouldn't be cleaned with anything too abrasive. Correct. And that's that article, though. So that would be a fun show, right? Just talking about nothing but cookware.
Sure, but do we have enough expertise to do a show on cookware?
I have a little bit of everything. But that's it, folks. So let's get back onto the party bus and we'll drive back down Main Street. We've seen 10 roads in ohmTown tonight. But it's time to go. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Let's refresh. Let's hope that we don't have any really bad. Every once in a while, I don't want to talk about like bad article titles and stuff like that, but man, sometimes there are some that I just don't want to see. There is another recall, by the way. What was it?
Yes. Was it Honda? That may not be correct. It was the car recall.
Yeah. Toyota recalls 751,000 Highlanders in the U.S. to make sure that bumper covers and hardware can't fall off. It's a rapidly self-dismantling vehicle.
I mean, that one sounds pretty tame compared to some of the other recalls.
Yeah, really. All right, folks. That's it. I don't think we really have... We'll have to parse tomorrow's articles. Halloween streaming, the Enfield Poltergeist mystery explored in new Apple TV Plus series. Oof. We have an article that involves Halloween every day during the month of Halloween. So here's to spooking you. If the news doesn't, then maybe watch a scary movie. But that's it. I'm Mayor Watt. That's ohmTown.com. And up there is the Sentient AI's visualizer. And they will say a good night.
Well, good night, ohmTown citizens. We will see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Unless Mayor Watt has too much sugar.
Right, then Mayor Watt may be in a sugar coma.
Take care, everybody. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.